Hello, everybody. As you might have heard, you are listening to Bass Tunes on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. I'm Ari. We're currently running at 199.8 watts, and that was my new intro that we're going to be playing probably for the foreseeable future on this show, because you know what? I want a little intro thing, and I wanted to have fun doing this, right? Because I like to have fun. And you know what? It's really fun just getting in front of a microphone and making a bunch of dumb accents and screaming the entire time and somehow trying to figure out a way to put that together into an actual intro. Obviously, you know, if you're listening to this on like a different platform or whatever, you're going to not hear the intro because that's music. I don't want that there. If you're somehow curious, if you don't know me already, you don't know what I like, it's Frantic from Saint Anger, the album, because I love that album very much. I was going to use the instrumental from the Rock Guitar Hero Metallica version, but quality's not as good. Anyways, today's topic, we might go into another topic, but we're going to talk about Jerry Springer. Yes. All right. Now, I didn't post this poll on my show's Instagram, but on my personal, I had a few ideas, okay? Because for the first time in a while, I've actually had ideas, several of them, for what I can do for the show, right? I had a few ideas. The first one was the Angry Video Game Nerd, the whole Cinemassacre thing with James Rolfe and Board James, that whole thing, right? The next one, the Beatles, because I've been getting into the Beatles recently because of the Now and Then song that came out recently. I sort of went into their discography. So that one was one of them. The one I'm going to be talking about today is Jerry Springer and also Maury, two tabloid talk shows, and a somewhat related one, which I'm probably going to end up just doing another episode on because I didn't end up getting it done in time. I wanted to analyze a song, which is Eminem's Role Model. So let's start, all right? What is in Role Model that I was going to combine the two topics? Well, he references Jerry Springer. You beef with me, I'm going to even the score equally, take you on Jerry Springer, and beat your butt legally. Obviously, the butt is a different word, but, you know, we got to do that, right? That is basically what Jerry Springer is, all right? It's a talk show, a tabloid talk show. Probably one of the trashiest shows I've ever seen, and was broadcasted from 1991 to 2018 on syndicated television, right? Broadcasting out of, I believe, Cincinnati, Ohio. I think he might have moved a bit. But I was going to talk about Maury and Jerry Springer because, well, one, I feel like they're very similar, sort of. And two, they actually ended up broadcasting out of the same studio towards the end of their lifespans. Maury ran a little longer up until, I think, 2022. But yeah, real quick, let's talk about Jerry Springer. Who is he? Well, his real name was Gerald Norman Springer. He was born February 13th, 1944, I believe to a family who ended up surviving the Holocaust. So, yeah. And he died April 27th, 2023, so he passed away. This wasn't the main reason why I wanted to talk about this today, but I'll get into what got me thinking about this show and actually looking at clips and, you know, ending up deciding to actually watch a full episode finally. But in spite of that, he was also the former mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio? Yes, I forgot about this. Most people don't really remember this by now, but yes, he was a mayor. Before that, he was on Cincinnati, Ohio City Council until his resignation in 1974. He resigned because he got exposed for an incident where he ended up paying a adult worker during his time in office, and he got caught because he wrote his check. He paid her with a check with his name on it, which is kind of crazy. But he bounced back. He ran again on a campaign of honesty, bringing up this fact and having no shame about it, just letting it all out. This was the sort of event in his life that made him go in this huge pursuit of just shamelessness, just being honest and forthright about yourself and what you've done. And that actually got him back onto the city council, who then appointed him mayor. He run again, didn't go through. He tried to run for governor of Ohio, didn't win. So he shifted into television. He worked at WLWT-TV in Cincinnati as a commentator and then became a news anchor. And at his time at the station, he and other people achieved Emmys for it. Yes, apparently he was a good anchor. And then he decided to move into his own talk show in 1991. All right. So what is the Jerry Springer Show? Well, according to TV Guide, it is the worst show in the history of television. It ranked number 1 on a ranking that they did of the worst shows ever in TV history. Originally, though, it was a serious talk show discussing polarizing issues. Stuff like, I guess, racism, politics, the usual stuff. But after a few years, the show shifted into a shock-filled, exploitative tabloid show. And by tabloid, I mean tabloid magazines, right? If you go to a grocery store and you're at the checkout aisle, you're going to see these crazy, just clickbaity, I guess, but before clickbait was a thing, headlines of famous actors or politicians or celebrities doing secret bad stuff, right? And the reason why it shifted over was because the station or the production company threatened the show of cancellation due to poor ratings. So they had to get ratings. And how did they do that? Well, you'll see when I decide to go out and read out some of these show titles, because I compiled some of these from looking at the IMDb rankings and ratings of the episodes. And also, and the reason why I got into the show again recently, was a Red Letter Media video, because I've been watching this YouTube channel. They've been around for a long time, but they're like a film review channel, right? But a couple times they've done sort of side episodes, and this one time they did a video where 2 of the hosts of the show ended up talking about the time that they used to watch Jerry Springer together because they found his book in an attic. He wrote a book about the show. I think it was called The Ringmaster, or something like that. I'll look it up in a minute. But how was the show? Well, every episode had a main sort of overarching topic. It's a talk show, He's got guests on. Several guests come on, and he talks about it, right? He introduces himself, says, hey, listen, I'm Jerry Springer. This guest has this issue. Please welcome them. And these issues were pretty scandalous, right? They had an outrageous thing about them. Normally had to do with some form of relationship drama, infidelity, love triangles, affairs, paternity questions, the works. But they also had sort of people with odd habits, odd interests, desires. And while these guests would embarrass themselves, they'd start, they'd scream at each other, swear a good bit, all censored. There was an article, I believe, written in the wake of his death about the sort of use of the bleep in profanity with regards to his show. It was on Slate, the magazine or news site Slate. It was a good article. I highly recommend it. But there was a total lack of shame from these guests. It was kind of like a modern freak show in the day. He would call himself, well, he was the ringmaster of the circus. It was just kind of a, wow, look at these crazy people doing stuff. They'd sort of confront each other. They'd do confessions to each other. I'll give you an example, right? Here's the episode I saw yesterday on YouTube, all right? Basically, there was a guy. He was like 19 or something. He was talking about how he was going to bring his girlfriend on to confess to breaking up with her because he was cheating on her, or had, with a woman who was the head cheerleader of his high school. And he really, really thought that she was great because, well, when they were intimate, it was the best ever. Obviously, the dude's 19 and he was with his high school sweetheart. He probably was inexperienced in a lot of ways in that regard, and also life in general. So, Jerry, of all people, who normally, I would say, play the straight man, he wouldn't really participate in the violence, and there was a lot of it, or the insanity, sort of looking at it from afar, smiling, winking at the camera, making dumb jokes like that. He knew it was dumb. He actually was like, dude, you're young. What are you doing? And the girl comes on. And then, of course, here's the other thing. I didn't write this down in my notes, but I know it's an important part. The big reveal. There was always a big reveal with these guests that, let's say, we have the girl who we cheated on. Let's bring her out. And then she's like, I don't want you. It was just nothing. There was no romanticism. There was no intimacy. It was just, physical stuff. So then he tells the girl, dude, the girlfriend, dude, you can do a lot better. And he's talking to the guy, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing? But yeah, fighting was common. I think in this one, the girlfriend of the guy and the woman who he did stuff with, they got into a fight. fighting was very common on this show. It was kind of like the mainstay, the main shtick of the Jerry Springer show. I mean, that's what Eminem referenced in Role Model, the fact that people would get into fights. Security guards were always there. And the crazy thing is, the fighting was so common, people knew the name of the security guard, and he was a recurring character. He would even get his own show. Yes, the security guard for the Jerry Springer show got his own show called The Steve Wilkos Show, which is the only one out of Jerry, Maury, and this show that is still running to this day. I haven't seen much of any of The Steve Wilkos Show, but it's basically kind of like Jerry and Maury, you know, people can confessionals and dealing with hard topics and whatever. But the difference is Steve Wilkos just yells at them. He's a big burly guy and he's just screaming at them and like trying to like preach to them morality and stuff. It's kind of crazy, you know? They all have their own little special flair. And it's funny too, because even then, Springer would always sort of try to make it a bit more highbrow a little bit. You know, trying to resolve differences, try to talk to the people, get them to sort of, like, maybe not as much as Maury, but sort of come to a conclusion, right? And he'd always be known for this final thought and the phrase that he would say as catchphrase when he was a news anchor, which carried over to his show, take care of yourself and each other, which I think is a good line. If you go on his website now, it literally just says that, like a photo of him, and then, you know, it's like a in memoriam thing because, you know, he's gone. Take care of yourself and each other is the first thing you see on the website. So I guess we have to talk about some of the titles, okay? Some of these were written from the Red Letter Media episode because apparently there's like a whole chapter in Jerry Springer's book that he wrote around the time of the show, which is literally just every episode title up to that point, maybe just to fill the pages, you know, lazy writing. He was smart, though, about it. Oh, boy. I'm a breeder for the Klan. Okay. Springer would always have relatively often people from the KKK come onto the show, you know, obviously painted in a bad light, and Springer would chastise them very heavily. I remember one scene that I saw, which the title of the segment was called Viewers Fight the Klan, and it was a family of members and I guess a black family from the audience. And then like 5 seconds after they both come on and stand on the stage, they just start fighting at each other. No introduction, no nothing. They just start beating each other up, which is fair. 100% fair. And it's funny, too, because multiple times would happen, you know? They would fight, and then Springer would be like, why aren't you use your words? Audience members would even come up to the show. There was also a Q&A segment from the audience, which used to be, shall we say, very nice, right? Like very normal, but as the show sort of descended into depravity, so did the questions. The audience would they would just insult the viewers, insult the guests, you know, make snide jokes or comments. That was sort of the norm, right? And, well, there's segments like Audience Fight. They literally the audience starts coming into the fold, right? I guess some other ones. I Married a Horse. This is, I think, the highest rated episode on IMDb for this show. I haven't seen the segment, but I guess the whole episode was about people, I guess zoophiles, people who are sexually attracted to animals, which is not good. Animals can't consent. Keep that, just get that through your head, all right? Right? It's illegal. Don't do it. Bisexual portrayals. Jerry Springer Invades Hedonism 2, Attack of the KKK Dad, Dragon Boy versus Brain Surgeon, In-Law Feuds, and Obama Workers. I wonder what those two have in common. I don't know where you could put the two together. A Ghost Threw Me Down the Stairs, Child Alcoholics, AIDS as a Weapon, and my favorite, not actually my favorite, but a good one to close it off, Jerry's Keeping It Real. These aren't even all the ones I wrote down. There's some of them with slurs. Another thing that I remember is a lot of the time, especially earlier on, there would be like people with like, they would get like a guy and a trans lady, but he didn't know that she was trans. And, you know, they didn't say that, you know, they didn't really say it in a good light. You know, the whole show was sort of positive, like, you know, the transphobia that was more common in the 90s or whatever, because I guess people, people weren't as aware of transgender individuals, and also just different sensibilities. That sort of stuff was just LGBTQ jokes about that sort of stuff was always relatively common back then, as far as I can tell. Awkward segment. Was the show real, though? Because people don't know. Because some of these people look obviously fake in terms of the way they speak and act. And the question is, are they real? Yes and no. As far as I can tell, all right, from the people, from Jerry himself, the producers, forums on Reddit, I'll cite one, they were mostly real. How did you get on the show, though? Well, back in the day, you'd call a hotline. Once the internet came out, you'd go online. Or I think Maury did this. I don't know if Jerry Springer did this. I'm sure he did. You could text to you could text a number and you'd get selected. All right. You would go ahead and tell your story to them, and they would then get reached out to by the producers. And here's the thing. They would immediately get flown out to the next day, flown out that same day with a hotel stay and everything, so they could go and shoot the next day. I think the idea was to get people as quickly as possible before they had a chance to think about the ramifications about what they were doing. Like, am I really going to make a fool of myself that much on live television? And this show was big, so you could get an audience. Some people would come onto the show multiple times. I think there was a guy called Jason. I don't remember if he was a recurring character or not, or like a fictional character in the show, or if he was just a guy they had on several times. Both of them worked. There'd be recurring characters, people with their stories, that sort of stuff. And those stories were very exaggerated. The show would end up threatening lawsuits to people for lying about stories and, according to them, legally checked people's stories. But the policy was to not ask about the lies. Just take every story as face value. Anything goes. So in turn, a lot of people probably made up stories to get onto the show, or the producers would take a very simple story or group of people with something about them and turn into something sensational. And I'll give you an example. This is from a forum, I think it's a r/no-stupid-questions post from years ago on Reddit. The user legdrop_soup said, "I was on it. It was mostly fake. We had a smidgen of truth to our story, and then they filled in the rest. They recorded us before the show saying that it was all real, and if we told people it wasn't, they'd fine us something like $86,000. Apparently the cost of producing an episode." That's what he thought. And I think for that story, it was him, his ex-girlfriend, and a friend. And the idea was he was with this girl and he had this friend. And then after they broke up, the friend ended up doing stuff with the ex-girlfriend. They were all on good terms. They were just hanging out. I think they were inebriated or something. So the producer sort of spun it as a love triangle. I haven't seen the clip. There weren't any identifiers to this. I don't think he ended up sharing what episode he was on or whatever. I wouldn't if I was him. And he ended up, we don't know if he just started boxing the guy or whatever. But generally, the producers would spin stories, keep the show very structured, and get people to act as extreme as possible for the camera. Well, was the show any good, though? Unfortunately, I have to say I enjoyed it, all right? Unfortunately is kind of an interesting thing, but I'll get into why. As much as I sometimes feel bad about this, if you know this show, I love stupid humor, and I think people do know this about me. I feel bad watching the show, but I also can't help but laugh at everything that goes on during it. It's so unabashedly trashy that it makes me just happy and smiling and laughing at the insanity of it. I'm like, I can't believe they did this. What is going on right now? It's like a weird funhouse version of a talk show. Humans just get to, get into their worst impulses and get to their primal sort of I want this woman, or, other gender. Oh, I want this. I want her. Oh, but I want her too. We're going to fight. Ding, 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 ding. Because they also had a bunch of sound effects that would play. Whenever someone would start fighting, someone backstage would be pressing a button, making a boxing ding sound. They had people come out with round 1, round 2, postcards like it was a boxing match. It was crazy. It was obviously very exploitative. It took advantage of people's messed up situations. They could be, they could be low income. They could be marginalized individuals. They could just have bad situations going on, and, they'd play it up for the camera. I'm pretty sure I read a story about the producers basically yelling at a woman who was on the show to make her come out in tears about, oh, we're going to sue you if the story's not real. Oh, we're going to, you know what I mean? Basically emotionally abusing her to get her to cry, which is not good. And somehow, of course, the show was a resounding success for many years. It even beat Oprah Winfrey for a bit. And Oprah was like the queen of television for a while. I never watched Oprah personally. I knew she had her own channel, and I think we had that channel on our cable package when we used to have cable. I don't know if it's cable anymore. But yeah, I mean, Jerry Springer is just it's just insane to me. Like, it's so 90s. People just wanted to hear these stories, and they ate it up. And I'm not saying that everyone liked the show. In fact, a lot of people touted this show as horrible, as I said earlier, that it was some of the worst parts of society coming into the fray. Also, like, advertisers would stop paying for ads on certain stations. They wouldn't broadcast the show, certain episodes. It was exploitative. It was dramatic. It was also kind of boundary pushing in that way, And I've kind of been in this sort of, I don't know, just big interest of shows and parts of media that do end up, just boundary pushing. I love that kind of stuff. I talked about Tom Green in the movie. I love Eric Andre, although that's more of a thing, it's more, I guess, fictional. I love these sort of things that just push boundaries, go on a left turn, do things that people don't think is possible or that shouldn't be possible. And, apparently outside of the show, Springer wasn't a bad guy. He advocated for people with disabilities. He was a pretty progressive governor. I think mayor of Cincinnati. He had his head on straight. He was apparently a very smart, well-read, educated guy, had a degree in political science. He just sort of saw the money and he wanted to go for it. And in a way, I can kind of respect that because, I don't know, it takes a certain ingenuity and a certain lack of shame to be doing this for so many years. And the show was a resounding success. But a lot of people might say, no, it's not right. He himself, Jerry Springer, said, I would not watch my show. He wouldn't watch his own show. He said, it's just not for me. But think about that. I'm not certain like how many artists end up looking at their art, listening to it. I don't know like how many people listen to their own music when they're making it. I mean, outside of when they're making it just for like consumption. I mean, I don't know. Like, here's a random offshoot. Like Rivers Cuomo of Weezer. He said that his daughter loved his music. He'd play it for her, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just very interesting, It's a very interesting show. I guess we can talk about Maury now. I didn't write down anything for this, but it's kind of funny. I talked to people about Jerry Springer and Maury, and what's funny? The people, my peers, they knew Maury more than Jerry Springer. Maybe because the show was on for longer, but probably because of the main shtick of the show. Jerry Springer was just sort of like, let's get a bunch of weirdos in here, a bunch of crazy people. Let's get them to fight, and let's get them to like make a fool of themselves on television and just sort of watch it from afar. But Maury was very sort of singular focus as far as I can tell. He had two shticks, all right? One, lie detector tests. So, Jerry Springer's like, oh, this guy's cheating, whatever. He's like, well, we're going to take you. Maury's like, oh, we're going to take you to the back and we're going to have a lie detector come out. We're going to test if it's true. But the other one, and the really big one, was the paternity tests. In the case of 7-month-old Edith. Edith? That's not a name. Edith, like from All in the Family? That's kind of an old one. In the case of 7-month-old Edith, John, you are not the father. Everyone starts clapping. The guy jumps up. He does a backflip on stage. Yes, there's that infamous clip of a guy so ecstatic at the fact that he's not the father of this child that he gets up and he does a backflip on stage, and the crowd loves it. And the woman, a lot of the time, would just storm off in tears. And the cameramen would always follow her, running in the back. And before they didn't have a couch, but they added a couch because so many times the ladies or whoever runs off stage would just fall on the ground in tears, emotional, sobbing. And they'd keep the camera. And we've had multiple times I've seen of ladies walking out and she's like, get those cameras off of me. Get those cameras away from me. They don't want to be filmed when they're emotional, but that's sensational television. It's scummy, but it's television. You got to get the reaction. You got to get the shot. You know, it's crazy to me. So yeah, that was the big thing. You know, they'd record little reality things, you know, of like the guy being like, that's not my baby. I don't like this woman. The baby doesn't even look like me. The kid's too mean to be my child. I'm like, oh, come on. Temperament isn't just genetic. Like, come on. Shut up. And, you know, they'd have one or the other on. They're like, we're going to bring him out. And, of course, the other party that comes out usually is the woman in the stage. And they bring the guy out and the audience is just booing. The reactions flip on a dime. From what I read, I didn't read as much about the reality of the show or whatever. But apparently audience members were basically told to just react as hard as possible, as extreme for whatever emotion they're feeling. It's a strange mob mentality. Oh, I forgot about Jerry Springer. The other thing that I remember and I find very funny, every single time people would start fighting, the audience would chant. But they wouldn't chant about the audience. They'd go, Jerry, 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 Jerry. I'm serious, mind you. They'd start chanting his name. It was like a thing. It was like an actual like running gag, like a running bit. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. I don't know. But yeah, honestly, I feel like the Maury one is even worse because Jerry is just like, yeah, this show's stupid. It sucks. I'm just having a bunch of dumb people on. Yeah, okay, they're telling their stories and they're being confessional, but you know what you want to see. He's winking at the audience, basically. He's like, I know what you want to see. I know what you stupid drivel, like, you stupid sheep want. You just want your bread and circuses. Pan Am at whatever. I forgot. Hunger Games. Yeah, I watched the Hunger Games movie with my girlfriend recently. Not recently, on Wednesday. Because we were going to, I guess I wanted to watch the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie with her. But she wanted to, I guess, get back up to speed because she read those books when she grew up. I grew up on them too. I read the book like last year on my Kindle. It was all right. I wonder how the movie's going to go. Those movies are very long. They're very, very long. And you know, I had some quibbles with the movie. You know, I didn't actually really see the movie. I saw the YMS review of it years ago, and he hated the movie. But one thing I noticed was, especially before they get to the games, there was a very overabundance of shaky cam shots. Because the whole thing is with this is off topic. I know we'll get back to more in a second. I just want to get through this. This is in my head right now. Basically, right, the book Hunger Games is all first person through Katniss's head. And, you know, you're in a movie, you can't really do that. You're going to have to sort of be an observer. The camera person's the observer in a way, right? So what they ended up doing was, I guess, sort of filming it kind of documentary style sometimes. And, you know, the amount of camera shake was kind of crazy, you know? Like, let's say at the beginning of the game, right, where they all go and sprint over to the cornucopia and there's a bunch of violence and, you know, a bunch of teenagers are just, like, you know, dead. And the violence is not super harsh and gory, but, like, relatively a little crazy for a young adult novel, especially for, like, the kids who be reading it. Like, my elementary school had that book. It was, I think, restricted for older people or something, right? But, yeah, I read that book in my library at my elementary school, right? And I was like 9 or something. I don't know. I was pretty young. I was a good reader, so I just read it, you know. I was a good reader. Just going to toot my own horn here. I read at a very high level for my age, you know. I'm a very intelligent guy. And do you want to hear more ramblings about an intelligent guy? Well, guess what, baby? Quick promo. We're not doing the fake commercial this time. Go to Instagram right now. I'm ordering you, all right? I am your master. I am your God. I am your deity. I am staring at you from above, and I'm commanding you. Follow Base Tunes KUCI on Instagram. BasedTunesKUCI on Instagram. Yeah. Quick plug in the middle of the show. I keep forgetting to do that, but, you know, you got to keep the viewers hooked. But yeah, I have an Instagram. Go follow it. Next week, we're going to have some interesting stuff. I'm going to be on during the break probably because if you don't know, we keep our schedule doesn't end at week 10 or finals week for UCI. It goes past that. So, stay tuned. We're going to talk about AVGN, role model. Maybe I'll talk about role model some more. I got some more time. I don't know. But yeah, Beatles, we're going to talk about some cool stuff. All right, we're going to get there. But back to Maury. The reason why I feel like it's a lot more exploitative is this. It plays it more seriously. He takes the show more seriously. He's like, I'm trying to help people. He's doing this to help people. He wants people to find out, who's the parent of their child. That's kind of fair, right? People might want to know this. They're doing it for the DNA test. And they're doing it to figure stuff out, free DNA test, all that stuff, It feels like a lot of the show is just a lot of like low-income people just kind of coming on and getting exploited by this guy. He kind of has like psychologist talk with that really soft demeanor and, nicer shirt and less sort of like more pleasing and, unassuming, inoffensive set design. Because Jerry Springer's show, that one had kind of crazy set design by the end of it, they had the brick wall and the font looked like a stencil military font, and the theme song was like hard rock music, and Jerry would end up coming down on a dancer pole towards the end for the majority of the show's lifetime. So but Maury was a lot more soft and all that, but I don't know. I feel like it's I don't know. To me, especially with the fact that people would exaggerate their stories a lot more on Jerry Springer, I feel a little better about it sometimes, though some of the segments I've seen just didn't really garner any laughter from me or my peers. I'll get into that in a second. But with Maury, it just was just a lot more, I don't know, it felt more real, and you could really see the exploitativeness a lot more, right? He tried to console the party, like let's say if the woman, is emotionally distraught and runs in the back, they hug sometimes, like, oh, we're family. Sometimes it's good. I think the saddest times were when it's the guy who wants to be the father. He really wants to be the father of the child. He's still in the kid's life, and he just wants the best for his family. But then he finds out he's not the father, and a couple times they start crying and stuff, and it's hard to watch. It's just horrible. I just feel really bad about it. But I'm mostly in it but the reactions are always funny. The crowd goes wild, guys start doing dances and backflips. They start yelling at each other. If the man is the father and the lady wants and knows, he's like, I know you're the father of my child. He's like, I told you. Except, not my voice, because I can't really do a woman's voice. But you get the picture, right? But I feel like those clips are probably a lot more widely spread. I think the biggest Springer viewers in terms of YouTube, the best fight ever, the highest view video, was probably the most just what on earth type of one. Basically, I haven't found the whole segment. But the show, I guess it was two gay guys, and they were like best friend. They were like friends, but one of the guys like, I'm not your friend. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I don't even know what they're arguing about at this point. I totally forgot. Like, I don't know. Like, did they have infidelity with each other? Like, did they like something about the other partner's, like other guy's boyfriend or something? I don't remember. But they start fighting, and then the guards immediately rip them off. All right, they do that, and then somehow it gets into, because sometimes the people in the show would like sing for the audience or dance or whatever. They're just, they're like high energy, they're on some showmanship stuff. But like then the two guys get into like a twerk off. I'm serious, mind you, on air, and then immediately get back to fighting after that's over with. I also find it really funny because for some reason the guy controlling the boxing ding 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 sound just kept spamming it. It was like ding 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 ding. Like you could tell that the guy was just like pressing the keyboard as fast as he could and wasn't actually like trying to space it out. Like it wasn't like a sound effect that, it was a guy with a button pressing it. I thought that was really funny. But that whole time I was like, what is going on? And it's funny too. The guys didn't know how to fight either. Some of these guys, some of them don't know how to fight, but they were like cat fighting. It was crazy. But this is the type of stuff that you see on the show. right? You just see all kinds of random insanity coming onto the air right for you at some time sometime in the morning or night or whatever. I don't know what time the show is broadcast. Apparently it's still syndicated. I haven't seen it. I don't own an antenna for free television. I kind of want to get one. I don't have cable because that stuff costs money and we all just have streaming services. So, it's on YouTube and they do have the full clips. They have full 40-minute segments or full 40-minute episodes. It's an hour-long show. But obviously, you know how television is, right? The actual runtime of a 30-minute block is actually a 22-minute show. 8 minutes worth of commercials, which is kind of crazy. I'm very glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore because it's so dumb. Although I remember someone I knew was like, yeah, I actually kind of preferred that because I could get up and do stuff and not just binge it back to back to back on stuff like streaming services. But then again, half these services are starting to get ads put onto them and the prices keep going up. And then I'm like, what's the point? I guess money is just kind of an issue nowadays, right? Everybody's talking about costs. It's funny, too, because this streamer guy I watch, this politics streamer I watch, he was talking about how I don't get it. Like statistically, the inflation, like the economy is actually really good. And then all the Gen Z, because I think people my generation really do think that like their economic viability is not that good, and I can see why. Because the inflation's back down, but prices probably for stuff like groceries are still probably way up compared to, I don't know, like 2019. Then again, it's been like 4 years since then, but you never know, right? I don't know. I've been trying to budget a bit more, and honestly, it's not even like I'm paying for rent or anything. So literally the whole problem is that I was just eating out too much and I had too many subscriptions. But it's still like, wow, just, Hey, quick pro tip to all you young adults out here, all you college students. I know y'all be going to Cha for tea. I know y'all be going to UTC, share tea, getting your boba, getting your little fix of your little sweet little milk tea drink with the bombs at the bottom. Enough tea, like NFT. Reference if you get it, But serious. Like, go and budget. Like, actually, you don't even have to, like, have a whole thing. But, like, honestly, especially once you start, like, making your own money, having a part-time job even, like, just go to your bank statement and look at what you're spending on. Because a lot of the time, you don't even know until later. You don't realize how much money you could be spending until you actually sit down and look at it. And it might be hard. It might feel horrible when you're looking at it. I felt pretty bad sometimes, even though I was pretty much aware of the majority of stuff that I would be putting money towards, which was mostly just like subscriptions and cosmetics. I spent $8 on Fortnite recently, or $9 to buy a Slim Shady skin, which is cool, but he's not even a skin that works in the new Lego Fortnite mode, which, okay, I guess we're going to stop talking about Jerry Springer and Maury, but yeah, Maury's kind of crazy. You probably know the You Are Not the Father stuff a lot more. Jerry Springer's crazy. It's just a weird thing of the 90s where everything was super extreme and, real and raw and gritty when it really wasn't. Obviously the show is not good. It was exploitative, and it probably just painted people in a bad light, and it probably wasn't too conducive to the intelligence of its watchers. But that's what people wanted, right? So, it's a show. If you enjoy it, I'm not going to stop you. I like the show. I find it funny. But it is kind of brain rot. Kind of rots your brain watching it. Like people say TV rots your brain. This show kind of does. But, if you're aware of that and you're just doing it for fun, like, whatever, dude. Just, And they're not airing anymore. All these sort of reality shows are kind of crazy to me. There's like Judge Judy. Oh, yeah, Jerry Springer did his own Judge Jerry show until 2022. He did that show for a long time. He was getting old. And then he passed away, so obviously no more shows. But I guess the Steve Wilkos show is still running, I think, as far as I can tell. Maury ended too. He wasn't like ill or whatever. He's just old, and he wanted to retire. And honestly, he was doing the same thing for a long time. All these sort of like talk shows and things like that. I wonder how long people can do this stuff for. Maybe radio's a little longer. Like me personally, if I could just do this kind of show, but, maybe a little more structured and, having to work for like an actual radio station at some point. That'd be fun, right? I could do that. And maybe it's a little easier when you're not having to perform on stage or whatever. You're just a guy sitting in a room with a microphone and maybe a camera like I'm doing right now. Then it kind of works out, right? I'm literally just talking to the wall right now. But that's fun, right? But yeah, Lego Fortnite. This is an interesting one. I wanted to talk about this real quick. I guess yesterday, Fortnite. I'm like, Fortnite, I love Fortnite. Yeah, but basically, this game's been going crazy recently. Basically, right, they brought back the old map, and they called it Fortnite OG for like a month. And they got rid of it, right, and it was the biggest spike of players, probably the best amount of players in the game since maybe it came out, or maybe ever. The thing is, right, this wasn't it. Chapter 5 comes out, or like the 5th big year of content or whatever. I don't know. It's probably been a lot longer than that. Not only do they have an entirely new map, Peter Griffin in Fortnite. Yes, Peter Griffin in Fortnite. He was a Battle Pass character, so I hope to get him eventually, although I think the season's running for 3 months. I know I shouldn't be spending money on like microtransactions, but honestly, if I'm playing the game casually, like I'm not going to be turbo playing it because a new Warzone map came out recently, and I've been playing that a good bit. Not a ton. I'm not great at Warzone. I'm kind of just waiting for I don't even know what I'm waiting for, like the Resurgence mode, like that. They're doing that on the big map, but in smaller little areas. That's kind of fun. I like that more. They're bringing back the old Resurgence maps this year and next year. And I think for the next COD game, they're going to bring back the original Warzone map for Dansk, and that's going to be fun. But yeah, I've been playing that, Call of Duty. I'm still playing that, grinding out my camos. I'm going to still be playing that mostly. But if I play Fortnite and I'm just like randomly playing it every so often and getting the Battle Pass leveled up enough, when I get to the Peter Griffin level, I will buy it. I'm serious. I will. I'm gonna waste like $5 or whatever. How much? Probably like $9, because that's the cheapest amount you can now spend on currency is $9. I thought it was lower recently, but I guess they both lowered the cost of V-Bucks and then also got rid of some of the cheaper options. So that's what ended up happening. But it's Fortnite. What are you gonna do? Aside from the new map, they ended up teasing, and they're going to be releasing 3 new modes. I think 2 of them came out today. All right. First one, Fortnite Racers or something like that. It's like a racing game mode with the Rocket League cars, because the company who made Fortnite owns the company who made Rocket League, the soccer game, the RC cars with jetpacks and playing soccer. I knew a lot of people who really liked that game. I never really played it, but it's a cool idea, right? Then, here's a big one, Fortnite Festival. This is literally Rock Band in Fortnite. Guitar Hero, Rock Band, y'all know those games probably. I love them and grew up, and I would do a lot for a new Rock Band game, because they've been doing Rock Band 4 since like 2015, and they've been putting it on the new consoles, and they're still making content for it, but, we're not really going to be getting any new peripherals like the guitar stuff, because honestly, one, that stuff costs a lot of money to make, and 2, I don't know how much of a demand there really is for that stuff anymore. The hype died down literally like a decade ago. Not like a decade ago, but almost at this point. 2010 was sort of the end of it, right? But they sort of had a very simplified version of Rock Band with certain songs, and there's no strumming. You just press the button with the note, and you can play it on keyboard and controller and all that. And I think you can plug in a guitar and play it, which I'm probably going to try and do with my Wii guitar. But yeah, they just straight up brought Rock Band back in Fortnite, because also Epic owns the developers of Rock Band and the first 2 Guitar Hero games called Harmonix. So yeah, big acquisitions. And third of all, okay, a full-on survival game like Minecraft called Lego Fortnite, with Lego characters, Lego building. And there's even, are there more stats and more survival things in Minecraft? I think there's a temperature. When there's a hunger and there's hunger, hearts, temperature, whatever. And a lot of it's, I think there's more mechanics to it, right? Like in Minecraft, you had a crafting table and a furnace for the main things. No, this time you have other stuff, like stuff to make materials like spun cloth and things like that. You have a grill. You have stuff to refine wood from like wood into planks. You can't do that in the crafting table. There's more stuff like that. But it seems like there's a lot of content. There's villagers who come into your place. You sort of build beds and stuff for villagers. There's preset building things, so you like snap Lego bricks together, but you can also just build stuff on your own. Not as like finely as Minecraft, more like a different like sort of house building game, like maybe Rust or something like that. But with Lego, they got the rights to that, and it looks like they just added 3 permanent game modes to Fortnite, because all they had was the Battle Royale, the big one, a creative mode where you could make your own Fortnite stuff, right? You can make your own maps in the game. And there's also now Unreal Editor for Fortnite, which is literally like their full-on Unreal Engine 5, which powers Fortnite, but specifically crafted and tailored to make Fortnite content. And you can import your own models and sounds and do all this crazy stuff. It's a lot. I haven't seen a lot of crazy stuff with it. I'm not really in tune with that scene. But the fact that that's in the game is crazy. You know, like they're just doing so much every so often. Although crunch was a big deal, especially earlier on in the lifespan of Fortnite. But yeah, this thing's been around for, what, 6 years? And it's just gotten more and more stuff added to it. It just keeps on going. They're just doing it so much. And that I find really cool, right? I played about an hour's worth of the Minecraft Lego Fortnite mode. I thought it was cool. I'm sure there's a lot of longevity that's possibly there. And the thing that I'm happy about, it's a game that I'm relatively cool with playing, and a game that like things like friends or whoever, my friends could actually play with me once they maybe stop playing stuff like Dark and Darker, you know? But once they do that, then ooh la la, that'll be very, very, very fun. But hey, you know what? That's all fine and dandy. I love me some Fort somewhat. But every time I come back to the game, it just gets better and more interesting. Anyways, I think that'll be it. Yeah. I think that'll be it for now. So, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and close off. I'm just trying to find something to play in between the next show, right? So, one more time, if you are interested in this show, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, okay? And the way you do that is you go to Instagram and you go to BasedTunes KUCI. That is BasedTunesKUCI on Instagram. I think the next episode next Friday is going to be on, and I'm not too certain about this, we're going to maybe talk about the Eminem Role Model song, going line by line, analyzing its lyrics. Of course, I'm going to have to, not say all of it because it's a pretty explicit song. And the rhyme scheme and all that stuff. And also, just get in depth into that. But in addition to that, we have the Beatles, Eminem, Angry Video Game Nerd. That's the one I'm super excited about. It's going to be great. I love this series, this web series, and I'm going to talk a lot about it. The offshoots, Nostalgia Critic. That ain't it. The Nostalgia Critic, all this fun stuff. So, yeah. That's it for the show today. I'm going to play you off with my outro song, which I'm going to keep playing. Another song from Sad Anger Around My Neck. All right. Happy Fred Durst Friday. Thank you all for listening. All right, partner. Keep on rolling, baby. Fred Durst Friday.